for YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Talking to Instagram too right now. How great is that? So the reason that the pull-through works and the reason that I came up with it is because, again, as I said on the actual product of divorce, which was found at Illusionist, I saw Magic Blade do this. He had his fingers like this, and then he'd pull through, right? So he'd pull through this way. And I used to do that all the time after I saw him do this. But the problem with it is this one concept. Of course, it's going to feel like it comes off this end. It's too close to here, and it's open. They know it's not closed. These aren't together. Your flesh is not melted together here. There's no way that they're going to think that it didn't come off here, right? They're going to think it came off there. So let me get another ring, actually. I'll get a big ring, might as well. So, I thought to myself, well, wait a second. So there has to be a way to get people to believe that it's really, really on there. Now, the problem with Patrick's idea is that it's the same thing. It feels like it can come off this way, and even more so because it's pointing upwards, and this is almost in an up position, so it makes sense that it would come up that way. Mine was out first, by the way. Again, I created this. Patrick did not create this. His whatever. So what you see from all these hackers and content creators and non-magicians, because they're not magicians, you see this. You see it loose over here, halfway in between, and then you just see that. And they go, okay, let's learn. And then they turn it around for 15 seconds and they just go like that. Okay. They're not even showing the correct how. They're showing the completely wrong how. So here's why and how at the same time. If I were to do that, people just assume it came off this side. Of course they're going to. Why wouldn't they? They're not that dumb. So I thought to myself, well, if I push it over first, and right when I did that, and I did that in the mirror the first time, I saw even my body clench like that, because it's exactly what it feels like. And so there's a reason that my hand is given this jolted moment. There's a reason I'm pushing at the same time. Watch every single one of the performances on the original Divorce. Every single one. It's a push, and it's a push here and then a pull through. Okay? Notice that these fingers are very loose too. This hand is here. The way everybody else is doing it, they're doing it like this. It's not how you're supposed to do it. Here. So everything is established. These fingers they're not even thinking about these fingers whatsoever. You push here because if you push here, of course, they get to literally feel the physical reaction of this moment. And they know that it can't come off this way. So in other words, you're conditioning their entire physical neurological system to react when you do that. It's called anchoring. But it's a physical anchoring. You're physically anchoring them to tense up. So what do we do here? We tense up a little bit. And what that also feels like, it feels like this is a rock. There's no way for this, nowhere for this to go. Now, that's when the pull through happens. Do you see the difference? And I'll use this word, and I hate this word in this generation, but let's reclaim this word. Do you feel the difference? Kayla Morelli was with Copperfield at a show, or not at a show, but I think they were backstage or something when Kayla used to work for him. I love this story. And I think Kayla was performing, Coppola was there. If I'm not mistaken, if I remember this correctly, I think I do. I told this story on the At the Table lecture with me and Gregory Wilson, by the way. And Kalen, I think, was doing his vanishing license, right? In the clear plastic bag, which is just fucking beautiful. And Copperfield looked at Coppola like, oh, right? And then Coppola said that feels good. Oh, boy, if that is not the encapsulation of what magic is supposed to have as a physical and emotional reaction, it's supposed to feel like something. When you do this, it doesn't feel like something. When you show the how, it doesn't feel like something. Even me explaining it right now, you're feeling this. You literally are feeling everything about this because there's a reason behind it. When people expose something, they're not teaching it correctly, they're not crediting it correctly, and they're not showing the whys anymore. They're just showing you the hows. Look how clever I am. You're not clever because you stole something, sir or ma'am. You're not clever. It just makes you a bad person. Simple. So you push and then you pull. You'll also notice I don't come this way and then come this way. I go as far over to that, as far over as I can instantly, so it ends up right over here. Why? It makes sense, right? Because if I was really going to pull this through, it would end up right about there. Of course it would. You don't think I've thought about this? This is the why. If I do this here, though, there's only one place for it to go. Right here. Linear. But if I go... Sorry, I got this thing. I was almost like one of them. Bad teacher. But if I go here like this, look. Isn't that interesting? It's so different. It's completely different. That's the reason that I created it this way. That's the reason I didn't put it on this finger. Although Brian Apollo does do it very well on this finger. I mean, I can do it on this finger. That's not a problem. But it loses it completely. One, because it's a different thing to stage here, isn't it? Here, it's a perfect thing to stage. You have no competing fingers or objects below you, so everything is free and clear from below. But here, this is underneath. It's complicated. It feels complicated, right? Again, you can feel that. Even the moment I did it, you tensed up. I know you did. You're like, oh, that doesn't even look right. Exactly. But this looks perfect. That looks perfect. Which I even do it on their hand, by the way. I even do it on their fingers. I got a way of doing that. So we're shooting the hostage. Am I revealing every single thing I've ever done on my own website? Of course not. I'm not going to do that. But I will be revealing certain things to you guys, especially things that I've seen over the internet. And the pull through has become, it was first, and I talked about this with Petty, it was first the number one performed effect on social media, because why wouldn't it be the pull through? It's such a great little moment here. It's perfect. It's boom. It's right there. Perfect for visual magic. Or it's visual magic perfect for social media. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. There's no pick a card. There's no signing something. It's perfect. It was designed almost for social media before social media became a thing. I didn't design it for that, but it just turned out that way. A lot of my magic, it looks like CGI, so it's going to have that kind of feel to it. So the next step is to finally take back the power. And we do that by teaching the correct way, with crediting, with complete and utter pathway of righteousness. Now, the shooting the hostage thing, you think, well, it's interesting. Who else? Did someone else do this? Like this idea? Years ago? Like more centuries ago, actually. Well, there sure was. And the man was named Reginald Scott. He was an Englishman. And this was 15... I want to bring up my notes. So I do not get anything wrong. 1584, Reginald Scott wrote this book. This book is the most important book that magic has ever produced. This was the very first time that the exposure of illusionary, or illusory, as the name was called, and stage magic and sleight of hand legerdemain was revealed. Like, well, why did they do that? Why would you write a book to reveal magic, right? Back then. And it was 1584, 13th century. So why would someone do that? Well, let me read to you what is already in words. Reginald Scott was the English author of The Discovery of Witchcraft, which was published in 1584. It was written to show that witches did not exist by exposing how, apparently miraculous, feats of magic were done. The book is often deemed the first textbook about conjuring. And there's good reason, because it absolutely is the first book so far that we've seen, that we have found, basically. Reginald Scott was put into the Society of American Magicians Hall of Fame back then. He has a high place as a wizard and as a conjurer in this art. We established him at a very early time. Well, this man basically saved lives. He was saving lives. And we're not saving lives, of course, but we are in a sense. We're not saving physical lives. We're saving the lives of performances. We're saving the lives of the actual energy that's being stolen away from people when they watch exposure magic. And this is divided. If you have never read this, you definitely, if you call yourself a magician, you should definitely read this. Get a copy. Get a copy. Make sure you get a copy. I'll edit that for you too. Make sure you get a copy. Let me do this. Better. Hold on. There we go. Make sure you get a copy. I want to talk about. I want to point out some things, because people are like, well, how much did he really expose? Well, it's gonna blow you the fuck away how much he exposed, and I'm gonna read it in the notes that I have in the original language in which he presented it, and then I'm going to modernize it for you to give you an understanding of what the props were used or what have you. Okay, so think about again the witch trials of the 1500s and 1542, and the amount of men and women and children that were murdered by an unfortunate, very naive and completely blinded church. How many men and women and children that were killed and murdered because they were doing these things. They were, again, it looked miraculous. We know what magic looks like. We know how it looks miraculous. Of course it does. There's an appeal to it. And you do take that away when you expose magic. When you take away correct teaching, when you take away correct crediting to an audience that just wants that hack, that wants that 15 seconds, they completely are agreeing to a contract that is stealing away from them. And boy, I don't want to be the messenger of that. I want to do the opposite. I never thought in a million years that I would sit here and tell you that this is the plan and this is what we're going to do. I never thought I would ever reveal magic to you guys in a way that is where you don't have to purchase it and you don't have to sacrifice for it. And that's another thing. I talk about this with the Petty interview. There's no, when people expose something, the person watching is not sacrificing for the secret. And there has to be a sacrifice for the secret. That means money and time and energy needs to go into the obtainability of that secret. Or it doesn't mean anything, guys. It has to have meaning. And if you take away meaning, you take away the entire structure, it fragments, and we create chaos, okay? Okay, so here are the effects. The sleight of hand, the legerdemain, in Discovery of Witchcraft. This is in the, I believe this is, so there's 320 pages, and this was in the eighth section. There's 16 sections in this book, by the way. 16 sections. This is just the 8th section. You ready for this? Of private confederacy and a bandas pigeon. Now, what the fuck does that mean? Here's what it means. On using stooges, for example, for burnt and rediscover cards. Okay. They were just literally using stooges, and they were using those stooges to have the reveal of the full card, the playing card, or whatever card they have, on their person. So they would burn it, they would destroy it, and then someone would probably pick somebody in the audience, that person was the stooge, and then boom, he would reveal he had the card. Of course that's going to look like witchcraft back then. Why wouldn't it? Especially with fire? Because you know they didn't just go, they have a light. The lighters didn't exist. They had to literally build a little area to make fire, maybe even a wood pile on the ground, and make a ritual type thing. India does this. Indian magicians on the street do this kind of stuff all the time, by the way. This hasn't ended. The next one. It was called The Example of a Ridiculous Wonder. A picture of a dove is pierced, and a real dove on top of a building drops down dead. We know exactly how that could be done. Very easily, without supernatural abilities. Of pub-like confederacy, and whereof it consisteth. So in other words, of stooges, more on stooges. How men have been abused with words of equivocation, where we get the word equivocate, with sundry examples thereof. What are they revealing? On cold reading and claiming coincidences. The art of juggling discovered, and in what points it doth principally consist. An introduction to sleight of hand section, in what respects juggling is tolerable and also commendable. They used to believe that juggling was about witchcraft. Do you know that, guys? Do you have any idea? Did you know that was the case? That juggling, they thought it was a supernatural ability. If you look at juggling and you see some really good jugglers, it does look kind of supernatural. It's some crazy stuff. They used to kill people over that kind of stuff. The three principal points were in legerdemain or nimbleness of hand doth consist. In other words, sleight of hand. Remember, keep in mind, people were being murdered for this. They were being murdered. Of the ball and the manner of legerdemain therewith. Also notable feats with one of diverse ballets. Magic with small balls. Of the ball. A false transfer. We just know that what that is. Cups and balls sequences. Phases and sequences with balls and cups, or candle holders, or salt cellar covers. Okay? To make a little ball swell in your hand till it be very great. One or more balls taken into the other hand and becoming big thereof, using a shuttle pass. Well, that sounds like a lot of Goshman stuff, doesn't it? A lot of people don't know this is where this stuff came from. It didn't come directly from these magicians and wizards of who are Goshman and all these other people, and even myself. There's there's a racetrack. Well, not racetrack. There's a track in which we can go backwards and see in history where this stuff started, where people were starting to do this stuff, where it was first exposed, which of course is Discoverie of Witchcraft. To consume, or rather to convey, one or many balls into nothing. The wording is interesting because the spelling is different in that time in 1500. So for many, it's M-A-N-I-E, and for balls, it's B-L-L-E-S, and to nothing. What is that? It's lapping a ball after a false transfer to complete vanish. I do that every day. How to wrap a wag upon the knuckles. A sucker gag in which spectators is wrapped on the hand. Of convince of money, a classic poem. To convince money out of one of your hands into the other by legerdemain. Coins travel from hand to hand after false transfer. Tapped with knife for sound illusion. Oh, that's interesting. For sound illusion. Williamson didn't come up with that. This is in the Discovery of Witchcraft. For both the ear and the eye is deceived by this device. To convert or to convert or transubstantiation money into counters, because it's spelled differently. It's so weird. or counters into money. Shuttle pass as transformation. So a shuttle pass as transformation. So a shuttle pass as transformation. That used to get people killed. That used to get people killed. No bullshit. Can you imagine what this would do? Holy shit, I would have been murdered. To put one tester into one hand and another and other into the other hand, and with words to bring them together. What does that sound like? What was a doubled lift with coins? The double was put into the spectator's hand. Think of sponge balls with coins. Yeah. So believe it or not, they didn't have a problem with taking one coin, it looks like one coin, and shoving that into somebody's hand, and then it turns into two coins. They didn't have a problem with that. It's so funny how we've gotten away in magic where we don't teach that kind of thing anymore. We're like, no, it would never work. You'd never be able to put 2 coins in someone's hand. They'd feel it. Then no. They believed this was witchcraft. How to do DOO, the same or the like feat, FEATE, or otherwise. 1 coin in each hand, they travel together, coins across. To throw a piece of money away, AWAIE, and to find it again, AGAINE, where you list. Coin thrown into air vanishes, you classic palm it with second or third fingers. Duplicate appears someone else like a stooge. With words to make a groat or a tester to leap out of a pot, or to run along up a table. The coin crawls, this sounds like a good trick actually. Coin crawls out of a cup along table, thread pulled by stooge, recommended at night with candlelight to make it more deceptive. That's interesting. To make a groat or tester to sink through a table and to vanish out of a handkerchief, obviously a coin through table, right? Double-sided coin glued from 2 file down coins, another coin vanishes from handkerchief with dummy coin inside and penetrates table and falls into glass held underneath. This stuff was being performed in the 1800s in vaudeville. Where do you think they got it? They got it from here. A notable trick to transform a counter to a groat. Double-sided coin glued from 2 file down coins, another thin covered disc stuck onto it with wax to show both sides of the coin, quote unquote a pre-shell. So this was pre-shell days. They were trying to figure out how to make it look like a coin on both sides. So they shaved down one side to make it thinner, which we turned in later on. We were able to produce shells at that time. Then disc stolen away and a coin changes cleanly in one hand. How great is that? Again, 1584. This was done. Keep reminding yourself, all designed to stop killing people. False transfer with a back clip. An excellent feat to make a 2-penny, PENIE, piece lie plain, PLAINE, in the palm, PALME, of your hand, and to be passed from thence when you list. One-handed coin vanish with wax or nail to bring coin to sort of back palm position. Oh, that's interesting. You mean like a hook coin? Folks? Yeah. See, magicians think today that they've come up with all this stuff, but they didn't. This stuff has been around for a long time. And this was the stuff that they were doing. These quote unquote, they were called charlatans, but this is what they were doing. Okay, what's the next one? A glide. We know what a glide is with playing cards. How to tell one what card he seeth on the bottom when the same card is shuffled into the stock. Card P kept under control with jog shuffled and forced, given to spectator and divine. Another way to do the same, having yourself indeed never seen the card. Card glimpse with diversion, like letting some cards fall. It's a great idea. Making piles and following the card, then giving it to a spectator and divining it, meaning to say it, to explain it. Here's what the card is, to reveal it, in other words. To tell one without confederacy what card he thinketh. 3 cards on the table, one thought of, divine by following your gaze. How to tell what card any man thinketh, how to convey the same into a kernel or nut or a cherry stone, and the same again in one's pocket. How to make one draw the same or any card you list, and all under one device. Card thought of is predicted on a piece of paper, and a nut or a button on a spectator's coat. That's cool. a stooge, obviously, or another person selects this card from a deck. And optional, repeat, a nut with ink and is cracked by some sucker. So that got people killed. There'd be a nut, and they crack it, the nut would fall out, and there'd be another nut where they crack it, they make some voodoo fucking thing or ritual hand motions, and then ink would come out of it, and they thought that was the devil. People would be murdered for that. They would at least be brought before the trials, and be considered a witch or be accused of being a witch. We're so far removed from this. So far removed. Grandma's necklace, a notable feat of fast or loose, namely to pull 3 bead stones from a cord. Grandma's necklace, there's where it came from, folks. Juggling knacks by confederacy, heads or tail divine, repeatedly stooge. I'm going to go faster because there's so much more. To make a show of goslings, draw a timber log. Some geese draw a log of wood, vague but probably a thread. In other words, geese would walk and the wood would come behind them. So the wood would start animating behind these geese. Again, this was done in the 1500s, folks. It's amazing. If you've stayed this long through this video, I really appreciate you. I will be posting this video on all my social media. To burn a thread and to make it whole again, obviously, cut restored thread, burning thread, how to pull laces innumerable out of your mouth, streamers, right? Mouth coils, bum, bum, bum. How to make a book when you shall show every leaf therein to be white, black, blue, and red. So it's a blow book. It changes 6 times. The place where one can buy it. You used to be able to buy that book, actually. So you could think also of the coloring book, if you think about it. That's another one. It does be more modern time. To put a ring through your cheek. You put a ring apparently through your cheek with a slit. It is taken off and put onto a stick that 2 people hold. That's crazy. A decapitation illusion. To thrust a dagger, a bodkin into your guts versal, so a false belly with animal blood, and to draw a cord through your nose, mouth, or hand, so sensible as is wonderful to see. Your crotch with a thread through it, really inside there's a wood around the nose. I mean, and there's more. There's a lot more. You should read it. But he was the first one to shoot the hostage. And he did it for a good reason. Because he knew how these things were done. And he knew if he could get these things out in front of the public, maybe he could save some lives. Maybe he could stop these trials that were happening. That murdered hundreds I think it's more than hundreds, obviously. It's an astronomical number of people that died. Because they were doing simple sleight of hand. But they were doing it so well that they were considered a witch or a warlock. So that's where we are, folks. That's where we are. I refuse, and G refuses it too. And I think every company, listen, when Vanishing Ink is selling gold for $1, magic's dead. There's no value anymore. There's no value anymore. So real quick, I'll just comment on the video that Illusionist put up. I'll be tagging them in this as well. That Illusionist put up on their YouTube page 11 months ago, by the way. Yeah, it's 11 months. Let me find it here. And it was my tutorial for Descent. I think it's Descent. Yeah, the Torn Restored card. Yeah. So I was like, oh, they're and this is 11 months. So I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, right? It was one of those things. But I watched it. I'm thinking to myself, oh, wait a second.
When she picked the card and I looked for it.
Wait a second. You're learning from the creator himself or herself. You're not getting bad teaching. You're getting the correct teaching from the person who put it together. They get the credit. People know what it is. People know who it is, and they learn it the correct way. Because here's the problem. Also, if you're just learning the how, you're never going, and you don't learn the why, You're not going to be learning it the correct way ever. And so when you go out and perform it, and you can tell that ECAT and these other people have never, ever, 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 ever learned it the correct way. Ever. Not one time. No one time. I'll leave you with this. Because I wanted to put this on. And I think every company should do this. I think because Illusionist is going to be the first. And I think every company should follow along. Because this is how we fight it. I've been getting a ton of emails and DMs asking, how do you feel about Illusionist uploading your tutorials? Now remember, this was 8 months ago, and this was put up 11 months ago. So I just saw it 8 months ago, so I saw it 2 months after they put it up. As many of you know, I've been strongly against the exposure of magic in any form if it is not directed to magicians. I've been crystal clear on my stance on this. One of those factors is because my material has been poorly taught, if you can even call it teaching, by people who have no business teaching anything, let alone others' material. But I have changed my stance after watching this. I applaud Eve for using the original footage of mine to teach the correct way. You are not learning my material secondhand or third party, so to speak. You are learning from the creator himself. And the bonus is that I have already been paid for this project, wink wink. So I have no problem with it being out there to a bigger audience. Listen, we can't stop exposure. It will never happen. The best we can do is learn from the best. And that will always be the creators, no matter what. Bravo E, I look forward to the next Justin Miller tutorial. And the best thing is that I did not have to move my needle of my moral compass one bit. It's a win-win. Thank you all for enjoying my material, my crazy ideas. Material, and my crazy ideas for over 22 years. Crazy. And that's what I leave you guys with. That this is a brand new way of doing this. This is a brand new way of moving forward in magic. Listen, if nothing happens, if something doesn't happen now, nothing will. It'll get worse and worse and worse. You've already seen it. It's pretty bad. And so the way that we fight these people is we shoot the hostage. And I hope you join us in our fight against exposure. We're like, well, Justin, aren't you exposing? No, I'm not. Exposure is equal to bad teaching and zero crediting. I am teaching the correct way, I am teaching the right way, and I am crediting the correct and right way, where everybody involved in that project gets all the credit that they deserve. When you take away and you expose and you show the how, in other words, exposure equals how without the why, and it also steals from the creator and from your audience. That's what exposure does. That's the final outcome of the fragmented chaos that is exposure. What we're going to do is all of us, we are going to teach the correct way. We're going to give you the correct way. We're going to allow you to see who's part of this project, the crediting, and all the things in between. So you learn it the correct way and you have the correct understanding and history of who's a part of this and why they get the credit. Look, folks, it's real simple. We do not get paid for clocking in every day. Oh, clocked in, I'm going to get paid now. There's my hours. We, as creators and discoverers of this craft, we get paid because of our ideas, because of our affiliated names with our ideas, because there's something different, or there's something important, or there's something new about it that hasn't been done yet, or that's done a different way that is a viable option and why it needs to be out and into the magic community. So if we get paid for only our ideas and we're remembered for our ideas, we need to hold strong this concept of making sure that the history of magic stays intact. And the only way we can do that is by fighting exposure with giving good crediting, correct crediting, and good teaching and correct teaching the right way. So that not only do you know the how, but you will have the why in spades. And that is something I'm very excited about. Again, never in a million years I would ever say, let's do this. But it's come to a point where I'm sick of people revealing my stuff the incorrect way. It's gotten to a point where it's not about excuse me, it's not about ethics and morals anymore. It's not about, it's about, they have millions of fucking followers, these people. Millions of people. It's not just thousands, it's not just hundreds. Millions of people are getting taught. They're not even getting taught teaching. They're not even, there's no teaching, but they're getting shown the incorrect way of how to do these things. And so, just like with Reginald, again, we're not saving actual physical bodies, but we are saving the future of magic, at least to an extent, of using the very thing in the system that was designed to take it away. Let's use that same system to bring it back into the folds, where magicians can hold on to it again and gain control of it. And that's the goal here, is to gain control. I'm not exposing, we're not going to expose anything. We're going to teach it correctly and to the audience that we deserve, and they don't. Because they've gotten that audience with manipulation, and they've gotten that audience with, I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine? David Copperfield, he has a show in town, right? Let's say his show's on Friday, this Friday. The Wednesday before that Friday, another magic troupe comes into town, and there's a person in that magic troupe that does the exact same show as David. The exact same show, the exact same everything, word for word, line for line, but it's not David. So you see it the first time and you go, oh wow, that's interesting, that's blah, blah, blah. They might not have a name yet or whatever, but you're watching all this stuff. Then David Copperfield comes and does it, who's the creator, by the way. Who's the original creator of all this stuff, or he's the original person who put this together, this show. Can you imagine the theft of what that first show steals from David's show? And that's what's happening when you watch these exposure videos. And we want to take control. We want to give back to the community in the correct way. And the only way to do that is to teach it correctly, credit correctly, and not just to show you the how, but explain the why in great detail. So there you go, guys. There's the new announcements. Thank you so very much for listening. If you stayed this long, about 37 minutes it looks like, I really appreciate you. I'm going to be putting this as a post on Instagram, so all of you can check it out. And of course, I'll be posting this on YouTube as well. Stay tuned. I think we're going to make some big waves.